Our panel is called Mapping the Way to Become a Great Educator. At this time, I'm going to let each of the panelists introduce themselves, starting from my right, and then after that, Dr. Owai is going to start off our panel discussion. Thank you, panelists.
Good morning. My name is LaTwyla Knowlton. I am currently an instructional facilitator at Visual Performing Arts Magnet School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is my either 19th or 20th year in education. I spent roughly 15 years teaching grades 4 through 8 English language arts and reading. Taught 3 years full time at Arkansas State University, teaching teacher education, where I taught reading classes, and currently back in K-12 public schools.
My name is Bill Teets. I'm currently the elementary principal at Gandy Elementary in Whitehall. I've been in this business for 29 years in numerous districts and numerous positions. So it's really nice to see all you guys are thinking about getting into education.
Good morning, my name is Kenesha Adams, and I've been in the classroom. I was in the classroom 5 years, been in education about 10 years. My current role is I serve as a mentor teacher for kindergarten teachers in the Marble Lane School District, and I am the CEO and founder of Therapy, which is an organization that supports the importance of social and emotional resilience for students, books, fairs, and therapy, and I'm a children's book author, and I've written 6 titles this year. And so I am so excited to see young faces, because I was a young face not too many years ago. I'm excited about supporting students, so thank you for being here.
That's hard to follow. I am Richard Moss, Dean of the School of Fine Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences at UAPB-TV. One of the departments in my school is education, so it's an opportunity here to speak to you all today, and hopefully look for future students to come right up the road. I always tell students who have the opportunity, I am a college flunk out. So when we talk about resistance, that's what I am. I'm a college flunk out. So when we talk about my topic, I'll give you a little bit more background on that. So don't stop, just keep going.
My name is Debbie Fleming, and I work for the Department of Ed, DESE, and I'm the director of the Arkansas Co-Teaching Project. When you started telling your number of years in teaching, I said, oh, please don't do that. Because I probably could add up all of the years that they were there, and I might make that number. I could have retired several years ago, but I absolutely love what I do, and I continue to do it. I have taught from kindergarten up through juniors and seniors, and so pretty much every grade all through. Currently working on my doctorate. Hopefully I will graduate, yes, Dr. Davis, hopefully I'll graduate in December of 23.
Good morning, everyone. Jeremy Owa, Superintendent for Jacksonville North Class School District in Jacksonville, Arkansas. Thank you. I also have the pleasure of teaching part of the adjunct faculty here at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff in the Ed Leadership Department. And so even though I'm in leadership, I still enjoy teaching and staying in the classroom. I've been in education for a little over 20 years. I taught for about 6 years, and then I went into administration, and I'll share more of the reason why I did that in just a few minutes.
Hello, I'm Summer Hampton. Currently I'm working at the Arkansas Department of Education. I'm working for a federal grant. It's called the SOAR grant, and if you've heard about RISE, it's their state's reading initiative, and the SOAR grant partners right along with the state's RISE initiative. I've taught kindergarten, 2nd, 3rd grade. I've been an assistant principal, and I said a while ago, Dr. Davis could ask me to do anything, and even if it was to sweep the floor, and I would say, yes ma'am, I'll be right there, I'll do whatever you ask. I had her son when he was in 2nd grade, so I definitely love the fact that the panelists before us realize the importance of making connections and knowing your students and knowing that the needs that they need so that they'll be better learners. So I'm excited to be here, And I'm thrilled that all of you are considering going into education because it's my favorite thing in the world. So it's nice to meet you all.
So you have to hear me first. And my topic is leadership and problem solving. As stated, I was in the classroom for about 6 years, but I started my educational career. I started as a 9th and 10th grade English teacher at Parkview Arts and Science Magnet High School in Little Rock School District. When I entered my program of study at the University of Central Arkansas, I knew I wanted to become an administrator. So that's the first lesson that I will definitely share with you is map out your plan. As an educator, I always tell young educators that there's so many different areas in the field of education. Even if you want to be an attorney, you can be an educational attorney. There's not many in the state of Arkansas. So if you really want to be a part of education, there's a portion, there's a job for you. So I entered the educational field knowing that I wanted to be an administrator. And the reason why is because I wanted to be in a place to have the most impact on young people. I had several leaders in my hometown, Camden, Arkansas, that really poured into me as a young person, as a youth. And I wanted to make sure that I did that as well. And so I knew that I needed to be in the classroom for a while because I felt like in any position that I was going to support and lead, I needed to have that experience. And so I wanted to be in the classroom for a period of time so I would always know what it meant to be or how it meant to be a teacher. And one of the reasons why I continue to teach even at the collegiate level now because I never want to forget what it's like to be a teacher. And to work with students face to face. But as a leader, I served as Dean of Students, Assistant Principal, Middle School Principal, High School Principal, an Assistant SU. I've served as Superintendent. I've also been blessed to serve at the department level as Assistant Commissioner of Educator Effectiveness. And in all of those positions, I always wanted to keep in mind that when you're serving in leadership, you have the responsibility of taking care of the people who report to you, the people who serve under you or serve along with you. We always talk about effective educators. You tell people, even based on the evaluations that you see, it's always about being an effective teacher, being an effective educator. I tell people that effective educators, effective teachers need effective leaders. And so we need you who are, even if you are effective in the classroom, we need some of you to become effective leaders. If we're really going to change the environment of our educational system, we need effective leaders supporting our effective educators who are staying in the classroom. And at the school level and at the district level, even with the problem-solving point of the topics that I was supposed to talk about, I always ask my direct reports, my assistant SUPs, my directors, during our one-on-one. I'm always meeting with them, and one of the key questions I ask them is, what are the barriers or roadblocks that I can remove from you during your job, your service, your work that you're doing with our young people, with our staff? Because that's our role as leaders, and in your classroom as teachers, you're leading that classroom. If you're not willing to accept the tough job, the tough decision of making those tough decisions, that accountability, that responsibility, you're in the wrong profession. One of the most prized possessions that we have in today's society is our young people. And they need leaders, they need teachers, they need people, community leaders who are willing to make the tough decisions on a daily basis and ones who do not kick the ball down the road for someone else to make that decision on. And people are not going to like you. I will tell you right now, people do not like me. They don't. But they don't like me. Some don't like me because I make the tough decision. When I accepted the role as a leader, I accepted the accountability and responsibility of making the right decisions, tough decisions, quickly and informed, and the decisions that are going to, at that time, I feel like best supports and impacts positively my young people and my staff members who are supporting my young people. As leaders, we have to make those tough calls. And if you're not willing to make those, you don't need to be in that position, and you don't need to accept. A lot of times people accept the position for the money. Wrong reason to do that. You have to make the tough decisions because our young people depend on you to do so. And so you have to think outside the box, being willing to think outside the box and make those decisions that will solve those problems or those roadblocks, barriers that come up. And there are a lot of times, you have a lot of those in education. And so as leaders, we have to make those calls. And it's not lonely, as people say it is at the top, but you definitely have to surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to support you, hold you accountable, and also encourage you and support you.
I want to say something in addition to what you said, and then also I'd like to respond to the young lady, I think it was, that said something about the money issue. Guys, you will not get rich teaching. You will not, as far as money goes. But to have someone come back to you and tell you they're going to be a teacher because of you, or what you did in their life, guys, money can't buy that. So you have to go into education, remember that line, because you love kids, because you want to make a difference in kids' lives, because you can do it. I promise you, you can. And it may be one person, that little starfish example that we talk about so much, it may be only one person that you affect, but wow, what you did for that one person. So we do not go into it for the money, we go into it for the love of the children. So thank you. I feel very good about our future. I think this is great. My topic, well, I'm not going to tell you my topic. I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's say that someone told you there was an envelope with $1,000 in it in $100 bills, and it was over there. And you look, and there is a gigantic rock, huge boulder on top of it. And you know that you can't go lift that boulder off. What do you do? Somebody tell me, what do you do? Okay, what I would love for you to say is,
Dig a tunnel.
oh, she's going to dig a tunnel underneath it. Ask for help. Thank you. Ask for help. Because you know what? What you can't do, a group of you can do. Now, you have to think about it's $1,000 in $100 bills. You can't do it. You can't get that 1,000. But what if you invited some friends and you decided, okay, it was my idea. I get 4, you get 3, you get 3. And the 3 of you try to remove that boulder, and you can't do it. So as you invite other people, you're going to lose money, but wouldn't you rather have $200 than none? So you pick the people that can help you do that. If I ask you right now, each person, if I ask you, think of who you would ask to be part of your team to move that boulder. Think for just a minute, who would you have? You don't have to say it out loud, just think, who would you have? I'm going to tell you what, I've asked these guys on both sides of me because I see that they're both very strong. I would be looking for the strengths of what I needed. And together, the 3 of us could move that boulder. I truly believe that. The incentive would be that we could benefit. But what if you don't know the strengths of the people? Let's say that one person from each table was pulled together and said, how would you move the boulder? What would you do? Oh, it's a team you've never been with before. So what do? You have to look for the strengths of the people that are around you. You have to look, as you said, surround yourself with people. Look for those people. Sit down at a table and talk about what your strengths are. You know, if anybody's ever played, what's the game where you go and you do clues? I wrote it down so I can forget it. No, it's, where do you go? Escape room. If you go into an escape room, Some people are good at looking at the clues and figuring out some are not. I'm really good and I'm really competitive. So you want me on your escape room team. But you wouldn't know that prior to me just telling you that. So sitting at a table and talking about what your strengths are, where you have a problem, where you need some help. And together you guys decide what is best for your team. How will we work together for a team? Well, you're an excellent leader. You play football at the school. You're going to be really strong. You're a great problem solver. Think about the things that you need that would help that team be successful. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, the world is full of teams. You're going to be on a team. And in your schools, I can pretty much tell you in every school that's in this room right now, I think you call them student leaders, you guys know what a PLC is. A professional learning community. We work together. Gone are the days when the teacher goes into the classroom, closes the door, and teaches. Somebody earlier mentioned the accountability, the testing accountability. You know what? If I'm terrible at math, but I'm responsible for teaching math, I would be crazy not to go to the person who's really good at math and say, hey, can you help me? Can we talk about it? Can we collaborate? Can you come to my classroom and teach my kids and I'll go teach yours literacy? Work together. That's life, guys. It's life. I am the director of the Arkansas Co-Teaching Project, and that is where you have a general education and a special education teacher teaching together in a general education classroom, offering those students, and I mentioned autism, offering those students who learn in a different way the opportunity to learn with their peers, learn with general education curriculum. It's wonderful. Those two teachers that teach together have to form a partnership. They have to become a team. I often hear the thing, conquer and divide. Well, okay, you have this big project. You take this part, you take this part, I take this part. And then we'll do our part, and then we'll come back together. Well, you've just put me off somewhere working alone. And I may not know anything about the part that I've been assigned. But if there's three parts and the three of us sit down together, and I know nothing about landmines, but you know everything about landmines, you can teach me. We can talk about it. You don't have to be an expert at everything, ladies and gentlemen, to be a teacher. You should not expect to be an expert about everything. But there's someone near you who is an expert about that. And so you have to draw on that. Sometimes it's verbal clues. Sometimes somebody says, hey, I'm really good at escape room. If you ever go, call me. I'll go with you. And I'm competitive and we will win. I won't cheat, but I'll get really close because we're going to win. So sometimes it's like that. Another time it might be something nonverbal. Again, you can look at these two gentlemen on each side of me and know that they're going to be strong. They're going to be muscular. It's going to be helpful for you to get that boulder off. The important thing in the end, guys, is that you work together to get that boulder off so that you share in what's under the boulder. I want to say before I hand the mic over, I don't know who's next, before I hand the mic over, the students that were up here were amazing. And I think you've already tried to recruit them all as teachers in your district. But somebody told me something years ago, and I absolutely loved it, and I tell people in your position, I tell all the time. It was someone who was military, and he was speaking to students who were considering going into the military. And he said, you can play now and work later, or you can work now and play later. Work now while you have the opportunity. Learn your skill, learn what you're doing. Then, again, I love my job. I think I have fun every single day I go into a classroom. It's wonderful for me. I did work very hard to get there. And on whatever the date is, December 23rd, I've worked very, very hard on my doctorate, and I will enjoy getting to walk across that stage. I'm super excited about the future of education with you guys right here. Thank you so much.
topics to talk to you guys today is about organization and multitasking. But before I go into that, I just going back to having educators in your life that make your life more meaningful. That's exactly the reason why I chose to become a teacher. I knew when I was in the 4th grade that this was the profession that I wanted to be in. And I just hope that from the people that touch my lives that I've had the same effect on my students' lives, and knowing that they have someone. I've always said I may not be the strongest content person, but I can promise you that I'm going to love my kids, and they're going to know that they're loved and have everything they need in that classroom every day, and the rest will work itself out. And I've worked hard. I've gotten 3 master's degrees in the last 10 years. So even one of my students, guys, when I went up to 3rd grade, I knew how to teach a kid to read, but I didn't know how they could read and not comprehend. So that has even been one of the reasons why I'm going back to get more education myself, is so that I could be a better educator. But a lot of times in my teaching career, I felt like I was juggling about 1,000 balls at one time, and it's hard to keep everything going. I like to think of myself as an organized person in general, but I think that that is something that you have to have in the forefront of your mind. And some days we get tired, and some days we get lax, and we let things fall. But if you will stay organized, it's just going to make your life and your kids' lives that you're teaching better, and it's going to make you a more effective educator. They know when you don't have your stuff together. They know when your lesson's not planned as well as it should be. And, you get a chance the next day to do it again. But if you'll just go in with that mindset, I just wrote down a couple of things, like with your lesson plans. Make sure that you have that planned out. Make sure that you know what you're teaching, what your end goal is, what you want to do, what the big idea is of all that, and get that planned out. Rely on your partners. Rely on your partner teachers to help you. Like Ms. Fleming said, you're not on an island all by yourself. And if you are a singleton and in a department that is by yourself, you have other people that you can rely on that I'm sure that they would love to help you and help you plan so you don't feel like you're out on an island all alone. You have your assessments that you'll have to plan for, and make sure you know what the end goal of that is and how you want to use that. Autumn talked earlier about scaffolding and interventions. These are all things, when you meet with students, when you provide a scaffold, when you provide an intervention, when you have student contact, when you have parent contact, and when you have behavior issues in your classroom, you are going to want to find a way to keep all of that information organized. So if you have to have a conference with a parent, or if the student needs more help, then you have the evidence and that you have the resources provided that you can take to those meetings to show what you have been trying so that you can further support those students. As an administrator, you can tell which teachers are organized and have their things together, and which teachers it's just kind of a free-for-all. Being a free-for-all, it's going to be harder on you. Your classroom's going to be a mess. It's not going to be managed well. But you having being organized and having all what I call all your ducks in a row is going to make your life easier, and it's going to make the student learning so much more meaningful, because they're not waiting on you to get organized and get all your day together. You already have that planned, and you already have that together. So the main focus is your students and their learning. So, you need to be organized.
Okay, so my topic is punctuality and creativity. And so it is important to be punctual. And one thing I was thinking about over my drive here, I was thinking about sharing relevant and relatable experiences. And so I'll share one most recently. Last night I had to get my hair done because of course I wanted to sit on the panel and look very presentable. And so it was a late night appointment, and so of course I wanted to get a nice rest before I came to see you beautiful faces. But the girl told me that she was going to be at my house at 9 p.m., right? And so what time do you think I was ready for her? 9 p.m. Okay, my appointment didn't begin until 10:15. Right, you heard that? Oh my God. And so that is what our kids think when class is supposed to begin and we're running late, or we are just now putting our agendas on the board. And so my conversation is just the importance of being punctual. But I also want to talk about the importance of communication in that, because life happens, and your leaders and your teachers and people will know that life happens. I think we take communication for granted, and we are afraid sometimes to say, oh, I'm going to be late, or I'm running a little late, or traffic was backed up today, so I won't be on time. And we don't communicate those things. And so punctuality and communication go hand in hand. So when you cannot be punctual, or when you are going to run late, it is just respectful to let someone know, hey, this is the situation. And you don't have to over-communicate, of course, right? You don't have to say, oh, this is why. I mean, this happened and this and this. It is just respectful to let them know, well, I am not going to be on time this morning. And that gives your leaders or whoever is going to take over the opportunity to modify, adjust, and adapt what the soft skills people just said earlier, the situation to support you until you can arrive. And so that's kind of the lens of punctuality. I also know COVID happened, and we know that life has been a mess getting it back to where it is. And so I think we now as leaders and as educators and as learners and thinkers are more understanding and empathetic when you really do share that, you know, this is happening. My mental well-being is not where it needs to be today, but I'm going to bring what I have to the table. And so just when you can show up as your best self, but show up in honesty and transparency too. So then when we think about creativity, I think that she gave me this topic because she knows that I am very creative. My first year teaching, I wasn't a very creative teacher, but every Wednesday I would wear jazz pants, right? And so when I would walk in the classroom, I taught elementary school, they were waiting to see what kind of pants Miss Adams would have on. I mean, they would be, of course, they're palazzo pants, of course, if you guys know, the big leg, wide leg pants, but they had so many patterns. And so that was me bringing my authentic self, but also creating an opportunity for us to make morning meeting fun. All they wanted to talk about was my pants for the first 15 minutes every Wednesday, but I was building a relationship with them. And I say creativity builds relationship with our students. Our students learn all different. All of us are different learners. And so one experience may be meaningful for another student, whereas another experience may not be. Your first year teaching, you may not be the most creative teacher. You may not have every content area mastered, because I'm 10 years in and I'm still figuring out sometimes how to teach elementary science lessons. But I bring creativity in what I read. I'm a children's book author. Books are like mirrors, so be responsible when you're thinking about the type of books that you bring to your classroom, because your students want to see themselves in those stories, and they want to see their experiences in those stories, and that's creativity. I work in a lot of rural communities, and creativity happens outside of the classroom. We can take our kids outside, look at how flowers bloom. We can take our kids outside, look at rainy days, what is precipitation. Creativity can happen outside of the classroom, so don't always think that you're confined to your four walls. You will have a curriculum. You can teach a curriculum, but please be mindful about the students that you serve, because they're going to want to see things a lot differently than what sometimes the curriculum leads us to think. And so be creative. Bring you to the classroom and show up on time, and when you can't, let us know.
She is that energetic and she is that creative. I worked with her for several years. And the big red pants. My topic is professionalism. I know a lot of you it's going to be a while before you decide to get a job, or before you go out and finish school. But everything you're going to do for the next few years is going to impact what happens to you. professional, how do you act? How do people react to you? How do they interpret you? I'm going to tell you what, the number one thing that's going to get you in trouble is this right here. Oh my. Yeah. But I will tell you, what you put on there this year, the first year in college, and you know, freshmen in college don't always act right. But it's gonna be there. As a school administrator, the district level, we had a young man. He was there smoking a blunt with a pistol in his hand. He was a teacher. But that picture was 4 years in the past. And how they find that stuff, I don't know, because I'm not very good at it. But the parents found it. And what do they do? What do I have to do with this teacher? I got to say goodnight. For a stupid action he did 3 or 4 years past. So, what I'm telling you guys right now, you may think it's no big deal. We put everything on there. You need to start thinking about that. You know, if it's cuss words, if it's goofy stuff, you know, and your employers, they don't want to see that. So it's just something to think about. I think that's, if I can get that across to you, I think I covered that one. Hey, also I want to tell you one thing. How many of you guys, you're going to be teachers, you're going to work 8 months a year, and you're going to get a decent paycheck? What do you think? What are you going to do the other 4 months? You can get another job and make more money. You figure it out, your contract's for 9 months. You get 2 weeks off at Christmas. You get a week off at Thanksgiving. During the year, you get at least another week off with all the extra days. And then if some of you women decide to have a baby, you get another month and a half off. But I'm telling you, it's not a bad way to go. So I just say good luck to you.
Okay. All right, so my topic is compassion and adaptability. And I have a very unique perspective on compassion and adaptability because of the many areas I've taught in education. So I'll try to be brief. So when you talk about compassion, and I kept hearing the panel talk about being a college student having to be adaptability. I think as students, we don't think of our teachers as human beings sometimes, or professors if you're in the college arena. So when you talk about, I'm sorry, I don't what I was. Okay. So when I talk about compassion, I think about my students, and it's more about a social contract, right? It's about how you want to be treated, and how your students want to be treated, and how you want to treat each other, right? And so as a middle school teacher, I was in charge of my class, I could adapt, I could monitor, I could look at my students, I could see what they're doing, and I can have compassion for them in that way. As a college professor, and as you become college students and you deal with undergraduate students and you deal with graduate students, the compassion looks a little different, right? Because you're adults. I think sometimes we forget that when we leave high school, we come into the college arena and we're adults, and so you're expected to behave as an adult, right? And so as a professor, if I set the expectations for what things are supposed to look like, that's what they're supposed to look like. But then we talk about compassion, and we talk about how we want to be treated, and we know that life happens. We know that students are busy, we know that students have jobs, we know that these things are in place, and so you have to make sure that you do that. Now, raise your hand if you ever wanted a nice teacher. Now, and think about how people really do treat nice teachers. Do people treat nice teachers good? Well, they don't. But everybody wants a nice teacher, right? So we have to think about compassion isn't necessarily being nice. Does that make sense? It means I'm having sympathy for you and your individual situation, and I'm listening to you and your circumstance, right? And you have to think about me and be compassionate enough not to lie and to be upfront about your intentions. Hey, I just forgot. Can you please give me an extension? Or, does that make sense? So when we think about compassion, we don't necessarily think about being nice. We think about boundaries. We think about saying, this is what it is that you're supposed to do, and I understand that this didn't happen. So let's talk about this and how we can remedy the situation. So I like to go over myself from compassion through that lens. When we talk about adaptability, again, in the elementary where I am now, or in the public school, adaptability, if things happen, there's a fire drill, things like that. Okay, lesson plans are done, we're gonna pick up where we left off, that's fine. If students bomb a test, okay, I think about, all right, so if 60% of these students bomb this test, that's instructional, that's something that I need to do over. I have to take responsibility for that, so that's adaptability. When you talk about in college, same thing, when you create a curriculum, and I'm going through that now. I'm a curriculum person. I'm a reading person, I know the reading curriculum, I'm passionate about the reading curriculum. And so sometimes I forget that not everybody is as passionate about the reading curriculum as I am, right? And so as I get into creating these lessons and teaching students, I have to remember to adapt because everybody's not as happy about reading as I am. Everybody's not as excited about reading 2 chapters a week. So I have to rethink those things if I see that the majority of my students just aren't getting it. Does that make sense? And that's about it. Just when you think about being compassionate and adaptive as an educator, you do have to think outside yourself. You have to think about your students. You have to think about them as being humans. You have to put them in your place. But at the same time, you can't be so compassionate and adaptable and adapt too much, because then that makes your job super hard and you can't provide for them. So if I take every single late assignment and you don't get your grades by the time grades are due, because I just take assignments whenever people want to turn them in, is that being an effective educator? That's the purpose of due dates, right? So if you want me to be adaptable, I got to this and I didn't know what to do and I emailed you, but you emailed me the night before at 11 p.m. I emailed you and you didn't email me back. I didn't know what to do. Should I have compassion for you if you waited to the last minute to even look at the assignment? So when you think about preparing yourself as educators and being compassionate and adaptive, as a student, it's easy to see how professors and how your teachers just don't see you. Well, I had a game last night, or I had all of these things. We've talked about organizing, we've talked about leadership, we've talked about being on time, we've talked about all of these things, and the panel before us talked about balance. And it is a balance of all of these things in order for there to be a mutual social relationship between teacher and student. Yes, everyone has to be adaptive, everyone has to be compassionate, but everyone has a role to play in that. So as a student, if I know Autumn talked about planning, get a planner, plan ahead, read the syllabus, okay? Read the syllabus, it's gonna tell you everything you know, because if there comes a time when you don't understand, the last minute is not the time for you to ask someone what to do. Does that make sense? If you give yourself time to look over it, maybe you can't do it until you can only do assignments on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, you need to look ahead and know and plan to preserve your time for that, okay? And to anticipate that your teacher may have a life. They may actually have a life outside of school. Like, they may be mothers and fathers and aunts, and so you have to anticipate those things too. That's it.
These are all classroom teachers, and so I'm a dean, and so I need you before you get to the classroom and for my faculty. So I need you, UAPTC. Sorry, Dr. Davis.
They're gonna fight over y'all.
My topic is resilience and reflectiveness. So I'm gonna give you a little bit about my backstory. I told you I was a college flunk out that goes into my reflectiveness. So my first semester at UCA, I had a 0.9 GPA. my mother said, son, where's your GPA? I said, right here. And she said, no, son, there's no number from the decimal point. Now, keep in mind, like many of you, I'm a bit older than you, of course, but I took AP courses, graduated with honors. But on the flip side, my resilience side, I came from a background of a teenage parent. I split time between the projects and the country. So I dealt with either frozen pipes on the well, or I dealt with filtering water on my cereal. So those things helped me become resilient. And so those are things I want you to think about as an educator in the classroom. Think about the things your students are having to be resilient about. And what are they dealing with every day? Are they dealing with the fact that they may have siblings that they are getting together, make sure their homework is done and they're coming to school without their work done? Or are they the older siblings? So those are things to be resilient about, to think about your students. What is in their daily path? In terms of you being an educator in the classroom and going to school, be resilient. I was on academic probation my first 5 semesters of college. So that's not the route you should go. Trust me, that's not the route to go. Do not be on probation your first 5 semesters. I eventually flunked out of college. So, yes, I did. Yeah, I flunked out of college. So in terms of being resilient, I went back. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, a master's and a PhD. So those are the things when you try to figure out, can I make it? Or is it my day? It's gonna be days you don't want to go to class. It was days I didn't go to class. That's why I was on academic probation. Those are the days you're gonna have to will yourself to go. It's gonna rain one day. It's gonna be cold one day. You're gonna decide it's not the day you want to go to class. But I encourage you to think about those things and be resilient. There's something in your life that happened, whether a sport, a band, some activity that you're gonna reflect on as a college student, that you're gonna say, you know what, today's the day I'm gonna push through. Or it's gonna be a challenge you come up as a college student that you're gonna overcome. It's gonna be like, you know what, I can remember that and use that in the classroom to reflect on. So your resilience in whatever form it comes in, whether it's K-12, growing up, in college, even in life, I encourage you to use those resilient moments to reflect when you're in the classroom and you have a student you're trying to deal with, you just can't get that breakthrough. Or if you're a young educator, and it's just like, you know what, I'm not sure if this is for me. You've got a more seasoned educator in the classroom beside you. Go to them and ask them, how can I be more resilient? How did you get through your first year or your second year? And reflect on those, because you're going to have a long career in education. We need you. Those students need you. So those are things you think about, because you're in the classroom now. And so those teachers you're looking up to, they need you just like you need them. You're going to be in that spot one day. So I encourage you in terms of resilience and reflectiveness, think about anything you can do that's going to make you get to that next level. If you think about, you get stuck one day, you can think about it. I was at a conference, I heard a man say he had a 0.9 GPA. I can overcome anything if he can overcome that. So if you remember nothing else about my few minutes today, think about the fact that you can overcome a 0.9. You can overcome frozen pipes and pet milk and water, then you can overcome quite a bit and be resilient and reflective as you go forward being an educator.